If they didn't say it, don't assume it. This video is going to be for my people with an anxious attachment style. One similar trait that people who have an anxious attachment style have is that we're constantly overanalyzing people and trying to perceive their reactions or perceive their emotions before they tell us. So let me give you an example. An anxious person is hanging out with their group of friends. They made a joke and their friend didn't laugh. We're going to begin to hyperfixate on that person's emotions, so we can try to piece together what happened before they tell us. This is an ongoing, exhausting cycle for us because now you're constantly trying to figure something out for someone. To every single person who has an anxious attachment style, this is the biggest tip that I can give you. You are not responsible to figure out someone's emotions before they do. It is not your job to aid them in communicating their feelings either. Most times it's because that's how we had to be growing up. Maybe we had to perceive a parent's emotions, so we knew how to maneuver in the household. But guess what? As an adult, it is another person's responsibility to come to you if they have an issue with you about something. Do not entertain passivity. If someone has an issue with you, if someone feels a type of way towards you, allow them to come to you. And until they come to you about it, they don't got a problem with you. Do not drive yourself crazy overthinking for someone else.
Please don't ever leave me.
My father's a therapist, and I'm a young woman in her 20s dating, and he looked at me and he said, instead of focusing on or learning their love languages, one thing that I want you to do is I want you to put an emphasis on learning their attachment style. And so I apologize for my tardiness in responding to this, but let's get into it. When you trust yourself and you trust others, you end up with what we would call a healthy or a secure attachment style, meaning you give love easily and you receive love just as easily. When you don't trust yourself and you trust others, you end up with anxious attachment style, meaning you will have codependency, anxiety, you'll probably fall too easily, give love a lot quicker than what you should. Moving into the territory of those who don't trust others but trust themselves, you end up with an avoidant attachment style. So this is a person that's nonchalant, uninterested, emotionally unavailable. They don't give love or receive love very easily at all. Lastly, you have a person who does not trust others and does not trust themselves, and you end up with a fearful attachment. This is marked by people that don't have boundaries, people who do not give or receive love at all. Which one do you think I am? Trusting yourself in the terms of attachment is knowing that you have the ability to choose someone that is safe, someone that will be there when you need them, and someone who won't abandon you.
Okay, I'm sure you've heard people say when you're not looking for it, it happens. Many times it's hard to believe because how are you going to find something that you're not looking for? This is why it makes sense. And this is why it's so true. If you're looking for a relationship, if you obsess over wanting to be with someone or wanting a certain job or wanting a certain thing, anything that you obsess over will never happen. We attract things that are vibrating in the same energy frequency that we are vibrating on. So if you obsess about finding something or someone, you're vibrating in a frequency of lack because you're ultimately manifesting that you don't have it and that's why you need it, which at the end of the day manifests as I don't have it. I'm lacking a relationship, I'm lacking a job, I'm lacking a thing. So you start vibrating in a frequency of lack. And just like abundance attracts abundance, lack attracts lack. So you will never have it because you'll always be vibrating in a frequency of lack. However, if you treat life just like a restaurant menu where you literally sit down, order the food that you want and don't obsess over it because you know that that's the food that's coming because you order that, life gets so much easier and you start getting absolutely everything that you want. Ask for whatever it is that you want, let it go because you know that you asked for it, so therefore it's coming, and move on and live your life because what you asked for is coming. Who knows when, who knows how, but it's coming.
Detachment doesn't mean that you don't own anything, it just means that nothing owns you. The best way to explain detachment is that detachment is the art of enjoying everything while always keeping in mind and being open to the possibility of losing it someday. And this is a beautiful concept because when the universe removes something from your life is because it's gonna replace it with something better. Start enjoying everything and everyone with any type of attachment because everything is temporary. And everything and everyone stays until they're not meant to anymore.
All right, so here's some food for thought on the concept of detachment. Detachment isn't about just acting like you don't care anymore. Practicing detachment is about being able to take a step back and put some space between you and the thing so you can view it objectively and find the truth in it versus looking at it subjectively and making it whatever your preconceived notion said it was. Practicing detachment is about finding stillness inside and being able to silence a voice that tells you to act or react out of fear.
Okay, so I want to teach y'all how I healed my anxious attachment style in relationships using this anxiety cycle. Okay, so there's 5 main parts of the cycle: your trigger, your fear, the thoughts, the actions, and the results. That's 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Until you change one of these, this is a cycle, which means that it will continuously repeat itself. And it's self-working, which means that all you need is a trigger. Baby, all you need is a trigger. And until you change how that trigger shows up, your results will be the same. So I'm going to teach you how to change your results, babe. So first things first, figure out what the fear is. For me, as someone who was anxiously attached, my fear has always been fear of abandonment. And that can look different for everybody. For me, it really was fearing conflict because that would mean to me in my brain that this person doesn't like me, we're not as close as I thought we was, we're not as cool, whatever, right? Then also another feeling or another way fear of abandonment would show up is like if someone is not as close to me as I want them to be emotionally, the lack of honesty, if I feel like someone's lying or if I feel like they're not being completely true about how they feel, or even if I feel like there's a change in their pattern, perceiving that someone can't meet a need, all of those things would show up because of the fear of abandonment that I had. So then my thoughts would be like, oh, I can't trust this person, or they're going to hurt me, or I need to be aware, or just that's when the anxiety kicks up because the fear is triggered, right? And the trigger can be anything. That's why I'm not really going to spend too much time on it, because when you're working from trauma, baby, life is triggering. But what's really important in breaking the cycle is your action. You have to understand how your behavior is affecting your reality. And so for me, my action would always to create space. And actually it didn't even make sense, because if the fear is not having enough closeness, why would you create more space? But if you ever hear people say like, oh, once I see that the vibe is changing, I'm quick to switch up, or you don't have to tell me you don't want me, I pay attention to everything. Baby, that's anxiety. And so what would happen was either I would become extremely avoidant. I would just abandon the relationship, because if I leave you before you leave me, baby, I'm still saving myself, right? So now I have some type of emotional safety. Or I would just be completely emotionally dysregulated because I'm anticipating that this thing is going to happen. And what people have to understand is when you have unhealed attachment trauma, the fear feels like life or death. And so if I am anticipating that this life-threatening thing, being abandoned, is going to happen, my emotions are all over the place. So what you need to do is figure out what the thought is and then change, right? Because again, until you change one of these, you will always be stuck in this cycle. Here's the thing though, you cannot change your trigger because you can't control other people and you cannot control the world. So make peace with the fact that there's always going to be people, some things out there that will trigger you. You're probably not going to heal this core wound in 24 hours. Baby, you're probably not going to heal it in 24 weeks, 24 months, or 24 years. It is a part of you. So go ahead and practice some compassion and learn how this is showing up so you can begin to nurture this wound and heal it. Your thoughts are very automatic, especially when we're working from a place of trauma. It's your subconscious pattern. It's ego trying to protect you. So the easiest thing to break, the easiest way to get into this cycle is changing your actions, changing your behaviors. And for those of y'all who really like to stay stuck in the victim mindset, I'm gonna let you know right now, that's not gonna work for this. If you're constantly thinking about what the other person is doing and you're really not interested in changing how you show up, you can go ahead and click off this video. But for those of us who want to heal, change, and grow, all right, what you need to understand is you have options. For me, self-soothing looks like, and that's really what the key is, if I didn't mention that, you have to learn how to self-soothe, because until you change and create a new pattern, this is your pattern. All right, this is your pattern. And so you need to change your behavior. For me, instead of completely abandoning the relationship, What I did was I took space from the relationship, from the person, from the trigger for only a certain amount of time. Maybe that's 5 minutes in the bathroom, breathing it out. Maybe that's a couple hours. I'm gonna go home, think about this. But what I'm not going to do is completely abandon the relationship because it does not give me the results that I want, which is connectedness, closeness, vulnerability. What you can also do is actually speak up for yourself, which is something a lot of us who have relationship anxiety, we won't do because we're afraid that if we ask for what we need, then the person will ultimately abandon us, which is why we hold so much resentment when we start to perceive change. Because it's like, I'm already giving you so much space to take up space, and here you are still hurting me. But what you could do is ask for what you need. Let them know that the consistent conflict is not working. Let them know that you would like to see them a little bit more. You would like to talk to them more frequently. Let them know that when they're not honest with you, it doesn't work for you. You get what I'm trying to say? Self soothe so that you can have a clear mind and you can think about how you can move forward when you're ready to confront the issue. And lastly, you have to know that at some point you have to confront your trigger. You have to be able to say to this person, especially if this is a person that you love, that what they're doing is hurting you.
I healed my anxious attachment and became a secure person, and this is how. I stopped giving a fuck. In all seriousness, the best thing my therapist ever told me is that we all have all attachment styles. The trick is to find a person who brings out your secure attachment style. For me, this meant I had to date someone who is naturally communicative, consistent, and trustworthy. Instead of chasing emotionally unavailable, mixed messaging, addicted to chaos, fuckery. And that happened by loving myself. And I know that there's that annoying platitude of you can't love someone else until you love yourself. I would like to reframe that platitude as loving yourself teaches you what love you're going to accept from other people. Because once I started really... He's jumping around. Once I started really loving myself the way that I kept wishing a partner would love me, the less I started tolerating people who showed up with any less.
Here are 4 tips to help you master the law of detachment in your unbothered girl era. Number 1, what is meant for you will not pass you by. 2, no one is better or worse. We're just different. You know, apples, oranges, mangoes, kiwis, avocados, like we're all just different. Take the time to improve your self-concept and understand who you are as your most authentic self and what people in your life bring out the good in you and what people bring out the bad. And not necessarily bad in a way that you don't feel like a good person, but also some people need to trigger parts of you to like let it out so you realize, oh, okay, that's something that I need to work on within my shadow self and I need to pour more love into that. Number 4, if it's not this, then it's going to be something else. And then the outcome doesn't really matter, does it? So the more you attach yourself to certain things, people, money, objects in life, when it leaves, whenever it does, it's going to hurt so much because nothing lasts forever and that's okay.
No, because let me tell you something. As soon as you detach, as soon as you stop caring about them replying to you or paying you attention or wanting to see you, wanting to hang out, as soon as you genuinely, and I don't mean faking it, genuinely don't care, genuinely forget, they'll come back. They do. And then when you've moved on and it's too late, they can suffer. Thank you so much.
Please don't ever leave me.